Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Master Division with various wins for the Far East 9-hole cup here in Golf Clash the game. We're playing a mix of the Shiruba Springs, Sakura Hills, Gokasho Bay and Yongsan Gardens. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video. Also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. For those of you that do want to take the next step in your game, you go to patreon.com/golfclashtommy or you scan the QR code here on the screen and you get to all our packages and you can select yourself or choose yourself the package that would suit your game. We have something for each and every one. Follow the info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also a ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there is always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number one. For hole number one of the Sakura Hills, we are going to, in this instance, use a power 2 wind fireball. You can obviously use a wind fireball with more power. That will give you a much slower needle in a scenario like this, where we're going with a lot of overpower. Max top spin, 2 right spin, adjust is max plus 10. And once we have adjusted, we're going to go with full curl to the right. And you can see here now that I'm somewhat measuring how much I'm going into overpower. In the end, that's only for displaying that I am into overpower. So we're using max and max, which is again max curl to the right, max overpower. You can hit grades on either side and it will still be on the fairway. But the beautiful thing here with this type of shot is that if you would have just switched to a P3 or a P4 or a P5 wind fireball after the adjustment with the P2 ball, you would have had a much slower needle and you would have ensured hitting perfect in a much bigger extent. Now we're doing a play with our Falcon here or the Thorn. Sure, you can use the Hornet as well, but that's not really a favorite club of mine, as I do believe that the Falcon and Falcon especially is a much better short iron to use. Aiming on the fringe here, trying to keep the landing position constant to ensure that we do have the same type of club distance every time. So 1 backspin ball guideline slightly short of hole, 10% elevation with true club distance if you do not have a pin check or a fringe check to follow. Center the ball. And a perfect ball here will give you a good chance to start off with an eagle here on Sakura Hills, hole number one. Shiruba Springs, hole number 5. Here we do have some headwind, and here we do recommend for you to play with a power 4 wind 4 ball. Sure, you can play with a wind 5 ball as well, but no really need for wind 5 here. Starting at the top of +9 and adding spins here now, and you can see we're using 7 top spin and using 1 right spin. Adjust is going to be max +10. And once we have adjusted, we're going to add some curl to the right. You can see here that we are in the highest wind 4 wind. We're not pulling into overpower, which is good. 1 ball of right curl, hit perfect. The ball is going to bounce on the fairway and then nicely down here on the fairway. And we're looking to be consistent with our drives, and that's a big key to drop this hole consistently, because there is a way of getting a glitch roll if you haven't been designing the drive correctly, and then you can glitch roll up to like 400 yards, and obviously then becomes almost 2 different shots if you are at 380 yards or 400. Now, pin check on the approach. If you do not have a pin check or a fringe check or something like that to follow, then you're going to have to just make your best possible guess by checking where max club are and where min club are. And go from there. Yellow ring to be by the rough line. This is really not something that I do enjoy, because having the yellow, red or blue ring, or white ring for that matter, by the rough line is going to be very hard to be consistent with. And the reason I think that is because the rough kind of blends into the fairway a lot. So I like to aim just by the very edge of the rough line if possible, but some wind directions that we have, that's not really possible. So then we're gonna obviously have to do something like I'm doing here now. So 5% elevation, and then whatever, you know, slider you have based on the check that you are given, and then an eagle is going to be very good chance. Start with your Apocalypse in NMT with a power 2 ball. Then we're applying 5.5 top spin and 2 left spin. This is a little bit too heavy on the top spin in my opinion. Should be one click less than that. But 5.5 top spin, 2 left spin is what I'm looking for. Now on the ball selection, I'm using a P3 ball. This to allow myself to have a possibility to have a short drive, even though the short drive has not happened yet. But I mean, if we do some mistake, that might come into play, and therefore I want to have a couple of extra yardage to for my check on the approach. Adjust max plus 10 P3, and I'm pushing my rings to avoid having the trees in my way when I'm pulling. Ball is just rolling down the center nicely. We're looking to be approximately 335 yards. On the second shot, we either play with Falcon or we play with Thorn. I do recommend the Falcon personally because it is in the end a better club. That's why I'm using the Falcon. But I've tested it with Thorn as well, as we do normally nowadays, just to allow people to play with the short iron they do prefer. We do a rough line check where the rough meets the fairway in line with pin. And then I'm doing no spin. Base is +2. +2 is 58% slider, 10% elevation, P3 numbers. Adding or subtracting 0.1 for every yard with Falcon. Adding or subtracting 0.1 for every 2 yards with Thorn. The difference in with Thorn and Falcon in terms of aim point is that Falcon is going to aim in with the ball guideline into the hole. With Thorn, it's going to be 0.2 green squares short of hole. This to compensate for the lesser ball guideline on the Thorn 9. Getting a nice little eagle here on hole number 3. Get our guide on patreon.com/golfclashtommy. For hole number 8 of the Sakura Hills, using 6.5 bar top spin and 1 bar of a right spin. Here we do recommend to play with a ball that do have a power 3 or better when we do have a slight headwind like this. Obviously in a tailwind scenario we can go for aggressive shots, such as we can actually go for green, we can go for a power slice to get ourselves to very close to green and stuff like that. But whenever we do have a straighter crosswind or we do have some type of headwind component, we're gonna have to lay up and be prepared to play with our short iron or our long iron on the approach to pin. Max plus 10 here is all about a perfect ball, trying to be constant at a specific yardage, and we're looking to be at the top left corner here on the fairway for best possible spot for the second shot, 380 yards. Now second shot, using a pin shake here to play a rough bump. I'm playing a skinny rough bump, but there is a small sticky spot playing from here, which I do like. And again, when we're playing in Master, we do take sometimes a little bit more risk than what we do in other divisions, because it's all about finding those little groovy spots that allow us to attack the pin for consistent ways of making an eagle. That doesn't mean that you can't play this shot in other divisions. It's just that we are relying on players to feel more confident with more tweaks. No elevation here. We're pulling from a lower to a higher point, which compensates nicely when it comes to the elevation or the headwind here that otherwise compresses the ball guideline a lot. Dead center for an eagle here on hole number 8 of Sakura Hills. What I would like to say though, if you're not confident with that type of play that I just shown, you can always go with more right and bounce somewhat over the bunker by using a lot of side spin, or you can go with a short iron on the green with a lot of backspin and take the bunker and rough out of play completely. Hole number 5, Gokasho Bay. Here we do have a headwind. We're still gonna play on the left fairway here because laying up on the right is going to create a very hard shot from distance. So we are going to try to just play the ball down the right hand side to leave ourselves up with a long iron towards the pin. Just before +1, blue ring by rough line, ball guideline as on the video, max +20 as an adjustment. Center the ball and hit perfect. If you do have a tailwind here, this is a typical send it where we're sending it to either wedge, green, or short iron. But when we do have a crosswind or a headwind, we're gonna have to lay up as we otherwise won't clear the rough. Perfect ball, and you can see that the ball rolls nicely down towards that red sign, and that's perfect as we then have a 350 yard approx drive. Now, pin check on the approach, which is always good to have. Pin check or a frame check is always super helpful, so we don't really have to guess that much. Obviously, it's still a guess, especially if you haven't dialed in anything when you're playing. But if you do have a shot that do have a check like that presented in a guide, or not in a guide, but just from your clan or something else, then it's gonna be a very solid thing to have. 3 backspin ball guideline to hole using the red ring as well as per reference, and then 20% elevation is what I would use as my base when it comes to the B52 from this distance. However though, that could be more, that could be less, it all depends on what type of wind direction you have and how you design the shot. Center the ball, and a perfect ball here will attack the pin nicely, and in this instance we are getting a drop here for an eagle with a hard right drop. For the Shiruba Springs, hole number 7, we need to have in mind here that if we do have a tailwind, we're gonna send it. Like, it doesn't matter if it is a lot of crosswind together with the tailwind. If there are some portion of tailwind, we are gonna send it. So start at max with a P5 ball. A wind 0 ball is to be preferred, especially if it's like an in-between wind like this, because we do want to have a good push from the wind. If we have a more straighter wind, you can come around by using even a wind 1, wind 2, wind 3 ball or something like that instead. All the top spin are pushed up to max, half a ball of left curl, try to hit perfect. The idea here is to bounce on the fairway to then clip the rough and then roll out for a wedge. The reason I want that to be the outcome is that I do not want to miss the rough with my second bounce, because then it's a very easy thing to glitch roll into the back rough. If you do have a straight crosswind or you have some type of headwind, we're going to have to lay up either on the left side or straight forward, and then obviously this eagle to get is going to be much more difficult than what it is if we're sending it. Second shot is a wedge, just showing that to demonstrate it. It's going to be an EB school with no spin, +20, P5 as we're using a P5 ball. If we're using max top spin, we're gonna play that one minus 35% elevation P4, and that is for Endbringer 7 and Endbringer 8. Ball guideline to go into the hole, very important here. We do not want to fall short in line. So once we are happy with an aim point, we're making the adjustment. Time to center the ball and to hit perfect. You can see here now that it's so hard to center this ball, and that's definitely a couple of clicks of overpower on that one, but lucky enough getting it dead center for an eagle here on the send it on Shiruba Springs hole 7. This is option number 1 on hole and number 5. I have no doubt that there will be hole-in-ones with this shot here. Red ring, you can see them stretching out to be on the pad with the red ring there by the what it's called island with the ball guideline to hole. And this angle is the good angle, which is going to be the one with less OP, because what we're gonna do is that we're gonna adjust. Let me give you the exact numbers. We're going to play this one max plus a 10p4 is what we're gonna do. And we are going to push up to max always, and in this angle we're gonna be just before circle drop, and in the other angle, which is a more crosswind, we're going to be just after circle break curl. Obviously speed here is gonna be impossible sometimes to not come in too hot, but I'm actually a little bit unlucky here to hit the pin and not get it to drop. And so in the end we're getting on green, super simple. I've been hitting great left and great right, single greats, still clipped the rough and rolled out for a putt. For those of you who do not have the possibility to play with the ball here on the screen, then I would recommend to check out the simple Lumi layup. Get our guide on patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Shiruba Springs, hole number 1. Here we do have a beautiful wind. This one you can actually send as well up to short iron or a wedge if you would like. But here we're playing a free-to-play ball version, laying up with a luminary bullseye by rough line at max P5 line, adjust max plus 10. When adjustment has been done, we're going to go with max overpower with a completely slow needle and half a ball of left curl. Do you need to use a luminary here? Can't I use a ball with more wind resistance? Yes, you can. It's obviously up to you, but I feel like this type of play didn't really need anything else, and it was actually good to only have a luminary to be wasted. Second shot, we play with the short iron that we do prefer to use. I like to play Falcon in these type of scenarios, especially when ball guideline is an important thing. So the ball guideline with Falcon being at 4.5 at level 7 and level 8 is super helpful, where Thorn is a little bit less and Hornet is also a little bit less. Now, either a landing position check, fringe check, pin check, whatever. If you do have a check to follow, that's definitely the way to go. Otherwise, true club distance minus 10% elevation is what I would be playing. Because here we play uphill, and the ball will then be less affected by the wind than if we would be playing a shot that would be downhill or just flat. Hole number 5 of the Sakura Hills, we are going to use the Thor's Hammer to give ourselves the possibility to use a lot of topspin. And starting here now with a P4 wind by ball guideline to be centered down the fairway, adjust max plus 10. You can see that we pull heavily into overpower, and that is something that is compensated for. We are not using the same amount of overpower, we're using a portion of what we do adjust into. That's just a way of designing the shot to make it simple, but still making sure that we do get the distance that we want to have. We're not looking to get too long here because we don't want to be in between clubs, but 385 yards is exactly what we're looking for. Now, it's either to do a check here, to do pin check, frame check, or to do a your turn check with the Grizzly, for an example. I mean, there is various ways of doing that, and if you have a check to follow, then obviously that's super helpful. Now, when it comes to this rough bump here, the important part is to try to find a spot that is consistent in that rough. And the positive thing with a shot like this is that the elevation is not going to be, it's going to be a negative elevation because we're playing this one decently uphill. However, though, if you do not feel confident going for this type of rough bump, you can always use the Guardian or any other wood club with a little backspin and go directly at green. I do feel, though, that with the rough somewhat not slowing the ball down, but minimizing the effect after the first bounce when it comes to how the wind is pushing, is going to give us an easier way of dialing that shot in compared to if we would be going directly on green. But going directly at green is going to be an easier thing and will then just be a no-brainer to lock in the birdie. with then maybe then a worse chance of getting the eagle. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Master Division for the Far East 9-hole cup here in Golf Clash the game. For the best guides on the market for Master Division or for Pro and Expert, go to patreon.com/golfclashtom. Just scan the QR code, you can go directly to our package. Make sure to do that and start improving your tournament game or tour game today. Thank you so much once again for watching. Good luck in the Far East 9-hole cup.